Let's look at some of the anticipation setups for tomorrow and also an example of an anticipation trade to look at how you can benefit by using anticipation. So let's start by an example. Like this was a anticipation setup on coming into Friday based on the action because the stock has been very strong and had a orderly pullback, and there was series of narrow range days. So this is like the entry day. This was the entry day in the morning. In the first 5 or 10 minutes itself, the stock had a breakout, and 20.75, which was really the high of these last 3 days. If you look at it, like almost approximately was like around the high was around of this particular day. If you look at it, was 20.75. So that is where I had an order in place and to buy 5,000 shares, and actually it got executed for 3,000 shares, and then I cancelled the remaining 2,000 shares order because the stock just took off from there. Now, once that happened, okay, the stock went up on Monday, and today it had a gap up. Like it actually had a gap up, and in the gap up in the morning at 22.75 in the first 5 to 10 minutes is when I sold the stock. So for basically holding it for 2 days, there was a $2 profit, that's $6,000 profit on 3,000 shares, and the risk was so low because the stop on this day, like coming in, I had like and decided that I will put a stop somewhere around here 20, but like as soon as the entry happened and the stock just kept going, so the stop was 20.35. So basically risking around 40 cents to make $2. That's the kind of trade which you can find, and you can put in a lot more capital in this kind of trade, like and move the needle very fast. So that's how you can look at like an anticipation setup. So whenever you have an anticipation setup, you have to think through, okay, look, where am I going to put an order, or like you can put an order in place, and if it gets executed, then you are into the trade. If the stock trades above that level, basically there is always a risk sometimes it will not work, but like that's where the stops come in. So that's how you can find opportunities like this in the market every day, if you really focus on the anticipation. Now, having gone through the anticipation scan, as you know, the anticipation scan includes bullish IPO scan, which is like the list of IPOs scanned for price percent change between -1 and 1%, and also liquidity condition is lower per IPO. And then I also looked at the anticipation bullish, which is around 600 stocks, which is done on Universe, and which basically consist of stocks with momentum. But the scan which I'm most really which I use the most nowadays is that anticipation tight, which is basically which has got basically a set of conditions which look for 2 to 3 days of very tight action, and you will see that in that you get very few candidates. You in fact get only around 25 candidates today in this scan. So if you use that and use all the list, which takes around 15 minutes, this total work is around 15 minutes. So these are the candidate which I'm watching for tomorrow. So you will see the earnings on this is like there is time, there is still like 8 days, so that's a good setup. See here, it's a high price stock, so like if it makes a move, it makes a move in $5-10 increment. And this is a stock which I've been watching for a long time. Like I entered here, like, and I got out by just with no profit, just like, and I scratched the trade. Even though intraday there was a lot of profit, but like in the next day it reversed. Again got in and got out on second day. Now I'm looking at another entry tomorrow here, basically because the biotechnology stocks are the strongest stocks. They're working, and stock had this huge breakout, highest volume. It's an IPO, so that's like in a very nice setup. Then there is lithium, global lithium ETF, which could have been entered today itself. Like basically, uh, this is setting up very nicely. But like because it has been going sideways for some time, I said like, okay, let's wait for a breakout. Then you have Navistar, which is the truck manufacturer, and it's going sideways. The earnings is next month. SCC, this is a pullback. I think they had a secondary issue here. So that's looks decent. This is another one which is a biotechnology stock. See, volume is one of the highest volume here. Huge volume breakout going sideways. This is very nice setup. This is the kind of setup which I would be looking at entering tomorrow, and I would look at entering it with a fairly close top of like say around. I would look at entering it like, because this action is so wide, big. That's the problem here. Otherwise, I would have looked at entering it at around $10 or slightly about 10 or 10.05 probably. But that's one which I'm watching. Uh, VNet. This is very YNet. This is very nice. See here, very orderly. Was attempting a breakout today, then reversed, which is what is happening for a lot of stocks now. CZZ, that's okay, kind of. RXTX, another biotechnology stocks. Biotechnology stocks is where like you'll find that the momentum is the biggest winning stocks for this year are biotechnology stock. So that's where I've been really like focusing. Something like this I would definitely be interested in looking at entering in the first 5 to 10 minutes if it takes off. RXTX, then you have Verso Corporation. This is like going sideways. See here, set up as an anticipation setup, made a 20% move, again set up as an anticipation, made a move. Then you have Course, which is setting up, which is not really like it's not, it's a good setup, but that's not my number one setup currently. The but the earnings is 11.6, so there is not much of a time on this, 6 days. SQM, which is a chemical company, is setting up very nicely, going sideways. Then car, this can break either way. This tried to break out yesterday also, and then reversed. A lot of these kind of thing action is happening because of the way the market is currently. You will see if you look at the bread trends, there are like many negative bread days in the last 8 or 10 days. So many breakouts will fade. So you have to be very nimble. I had a position, I sold it like an intraday, and then on that day, similarly, there was Hertz, which was similar to this on that day, which had a breakout. Red Hat, this is what is setting up very nicely. Again, like probably one is looking at like, so this is a high price stock, so probably 121. 122 might be the entry point on this one. Caterpillar, which has pulled back after its recent earnings. So those are some of the setups. Like if you see, Caterpillar was setting up nicely here also, but like it's a large stock. So these are some of the stocks which I'm watching. I have only 15 stocks. Out of that, only like couple of them, like say ANAB or Zain or RXTX, are really my target for tomorrow. Others I will also look at, like, and like this looks very nice. But to go back to this trade kind of a thing, this is where you have to take a call on, like say the market is now fading a lot of breakouts. Second day, third day breakouts are fading, third day. So you have to take quick profit in a market which would have come out of a correction. Overall market, I would have looked at holding this trade for 4 or 5 days, but like you have to take a call based on the market condition. But irrespective of that, it's a very nice trade because you're risking 40 cents to make $2. That's like 1:5 kind of a risk reward. Plus you can put in a lot more capital in place, because with just like zero point 0.4 as your risk, you are basically risking very little in percentage term. So that's the way you can play with these anticipation setups. The objective should be on stocks with high momentum. If there is a good anticipation setting up, you should be getting into this without waiting for a breakout. And this earlier the entry which you can make, better will it be, because you will be able to get more of the gains of the first day, and then after that you'll also make the gains for remaining day. Like say if I got in early on that day, after the entry, the stock that day closed at 21.90, so it was already like an up dollar or more from my entry, and intraday it was even higher than that. It went up to 21.90 was the high of the thing. So that's the way you can use these anticipation setups to find profit making opportunities in 2 to 3 days. Sometimes they'll just be 1 day's kind of a thing, but that's how you can find many opportunities if you do this work, and it only takes 15 to 20 minutes to do this work. And if you do some work, pre-work in terms of deciding where your buy point is going to be and where you're going to put a stop, then it's easier to get into some of these trades. And most of these trades basically will trigger in the first 15 to 20 minutes uh, of the market open, many time at the open itself, and then if it works, by the end of the day you're already in profit on most of the positions. So anticipation's basic advantage over breakouts, I do trade breakout setups also, is basically that it allows you to get into many of the things with a very close stop.